Welcome to the OxKala podcast by University of Oxford South Asian Arts Society. This is your host, Shishir Rao, and these are Deep Dives. Today we'll be discussing the fundamentals of Hindustani classical music. There are many classical music genres and traditions that exist in the south of Asia, and one of the major forms is Hindustani classical music. Frequently referred to as North Indian classical music, this art form is estimated to have arisen in the 12th century, diverging from another style of music, Carnatic. Hindustani is a classical art form that is perhaps most akin to jazz, a form of music rooted in improvised melody and rhythm. Let's start by going through the building blocks of this type of music. Sur and Tal, melody and rhythm. First, for melody, the musical notes in Hindustani music are Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. And on the way down, this would be Sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. This is similar to solfege in the Western music tradition. Of course, this would be do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and do. These notes also have subtypes. Shuddha is the natural form of these notes. Komal is known as the flat form in the Western music tradition. And lastly, the tivra is the sharp form. Now that we have shown notes, let's go through how to connect or present these notes sequentially. Hindustani music and classical music of India at large present notes in a couple different ways. Of course, this would be first discretely. Sa re ga ma pa da ni. And there's also a concept called mead. This is similar to glides or glissando in the Western music. In the Western music, as I said, it's called glissando, and it's not really a movement which goes slowly, linearly upwards, but rather a movement which goes non-linearly. Let's give a very concrete example. Sa ga da. As you can see, really, I spent a lot of time on the sa before quite abruptly jumping to the ga, and then spent a lot of time on the ga before really jumping to da. Now, these notes are the elements of melody, a core component of any musical art form. But when singing or playing an instrument, musicians present these notes in a variety of ways. But how do we keep in pitch or in key? That first means we need to decide a key and stick to it. While a common patti or scale is C sharp, as can be seen in this keyboard, meaning the sa is positioned on C sharp while re is on D sharp, instrumentalists and singers can really pick any patti that helps them deliver their best work. Often in Western music, keys do not remain fixed and music undergoes something known as key changes. However, for the most part, a piece of music in Indian classical music sticks to the key that it starts with. How do we keep on key though? We have an instrument known as the Tanpura or tamburi to play most commonly the sa and ba, the tonic and dominant. This instrument acts as a drone or a bourgeois, as known in the Western musical tradition. Here's an example of the Tanpura, played in a video provided by the Met. Notice how the musician is playing this long-necked instrument with 4 fingers. However, the thumb rests on the neck, while predominantly the index and the middle finger are used to gently strum the strings, allowing for ample resonance. This beautiful long-necked instrument provides much utility. First, they always keep one's key. Second, the instrument provides a sound that is incredibly rich for creating resonance, as we just spoke about. with other instruments and the vocals. This ultimately transforms the ambience of presentation. A famous musicologist, Peter van der Merwe, puts it brilliantly. Of all harmonic devices, a drone is not only the simplest, but probably also the most fertile. After exploring the building blocks of melody, now let's take a look at Tal, rhythmic meter. Much like Western music, Tal is a cycle of a fixed number of beats. The most prevalent instance of Tal in most forms of music, even Western, is a 4-beat cycle. Generalized, of course, to multiples of 4, a common Tal in Hindustani music is a 16-beat rhythmic cycle, Teen Tal. Other common Tals in Hindustani include cycles of 7, 10, 12 beats as well. Often the instrument known as tabla, the drums for Hindustani classical music, maintains the rhythmic meter and beat. As we said, the rhythmic cycle of Teen Tal comprises of 16 beats. Basically, it's a cycle which chunks 4 groups of 4 beats each into one rhythmic cycle. And it goes as following. Da, din, din, da, din, da, tin, da, din, da. As an example, we have provided a synthesized tabla playing the 16-beat cycle courtesy of iTabla Pro, an application found on the App Store. Here it is. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And that's Teen Tal. Now that we've gone through an example of how Teen Tal sounds with the synthesized tabla, let's hear an actual maestro of the tabla, Ustad Zakir Hussain, play improvisations in the 16-beat Tal. This is from a live concert, and it's courtesy of a YouTube video provided by Mr. Subrat Apte. Example, the pace is just about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. As it is, it's so fast that I can barely use my own voice to say it out loud. However, at this speed, the maestro is improvising patterns of 4 and 8, 12 and 16 above this fundamental basic chassis of the Teen Tal cycle. Now the thing is, we've just spent some time talking about the building blocks of melody and rhythm, right? But they're building blocks of this beautiful musical art form of Hindustani classical music. But really, what do these building blocks end up truly building? We have notes, we have beats of tabla, and on top of it we have examples of technique conducted on the notes, such as meaned and discrete movements, as well as improvisations on the tal, as seen by Ustad Zakir Hussain. What do they truly build? They build things like the raga. The raga is a concept of melody similar to musical modes in Western music. And these ragas are essentially a collection of notes. However, these notes cannot be presented in any which order, but rather subject to rules of ascent and descent. These rules guide the movement of the raga, the spirit of the raga, the real emotions which the musician is trying to evoke while presenting a raga. Thanks for joining us on this little exploration of the foundations of Hindustani classical music. Today we've gone over a couple of things. The basic building blocks of this beautiful tradition of music, melody and rhythm, sur and tal, as well as what these basic building blocks really build up to. Yeah, one of the things they build up to is this concept of a raga. But for more deeper explorations on what is a raga, the spirit of a raga, how to weave in and out of the raga but yet preserve a raga, please join us for our journey through this podcast series, the OxKala podcast series. We are really looking forward to sharing our explorations of Hindustani classical music and at large, South Asian arts with you. Thank you.
Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel below and find full-length content on Spotify.